Brown County Commission to order. I'll lead with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First item on the agenda, we have Gary Vetter, HR Director, Commission Assistant, discuss policy C9 amendment.
Last month, as you recall, you made a change to how exempt employees clock in and out. Before it was at the beginning and end of day. You changed that to just clock in at the beginning of the day, and then that's all they would have to do. Well, there's been some concerns brought up about how that changed employees' ability to take some time on the second Friday or whatever, based on the hours that they worked for the pay period, and so flexing that time has become an issue, and so I'm bringing it back to you to see if is that the way you still wanted to do it, or do you want to switch back to the way it was? Basically, that's the issue.
Maybe we should have a 4-day work week at the courthouse and that's it.
I think that's a good idea.
You think so?
No, I don't either. We're here to serve the public. We have to be here 5 days a week.
Well, they're all salaried. Is it really necessary for a salaried person to clock in?
And that's the other question. I mean,
Well,
They get paid the same whether
right.
they clock in
They're
or they don't.
schedule whether they work 60 hours or 40 hours.
You're gonna
Sure.
get paid.
As a salaried person, you might want to review that, but you are opening yourself up to liability by having salaried people punch in or punch out or acknowledge anything. And I'm not saying we move outside of what the county policy currently is for, leave and whatnot, but if you had the right person that was motivated in the right way and he can produce these logs for the last X number of years that he's been punching in, and that somehow will cloud the issue of whether he's salaried or not. I don't think there's any advantage to it. It's a management thing, you guys or however you do it to make sure the person's doing what they're supposed to do. I don't think you're adding anything by this. And my understanding of it, which we're not on the sundial anyway at the highway department because it's not compatible with the cost accounting software, but my understanding of it is it's not really doing anything. I mean, as far as it's more of to accommodate the software than it actually is to produce any valuable data.
two things. I disagree with Dirk.
What's new?
And I've never done research on it because I've never got asked the question. That was one of the reasons I was upset about this issue, because it affected my office, the sheriff's office, Scott Mines, the emergency management. No one ever came to me to say, hey, what's your legal opinion on this? Gary, I think, checked with Department of Labor, and that's not an issue, or whoever it was he checked with. If the person doesn't want to be salaried, then they don't have to be salaried. They're the ones that have accepted a position to be salaried, and if they're keeping track of their time, it's actually beneficial to them, as my office found out, because you build up vacation and you build up sick leave. And the example I always use, because my office was, the attorneys in my office were the only ones that weren't on that system, and never have been. It was a professional office, and the state's attorney is supposed to make sure that people are there working, which I'm fine with, and so are my people. But if something ever happened where somebody got a terminal illness and they're out 6 months at Mayo Clinic or something, and I'm coming back to the commission because we're still paying that person, and I'm saying, hey, I need more help, and you're saying, no, you're already paying a full-time deputy that hasn't been here for 6 months, it puts me in a position of having to fire somebody because they're sick, something they can't control. But now I don't have to. Now they have the sick bank they can build up. And this goes back to that negotiation we had 6 months ago about my office getting onto that. Now that's just my office's take. I know the sheriff's office agrees, because they have the person that's the head of JDC flexes his hours because he needs to go and check in on his employees that work overnight, or he can't ever see those people. He would literally never see them. So I think Dirk's somewhat right when he says they're salaried, they shouldn't have to punch in, that's fine. But then how are you going to have vacation, sick leave, all of that? How do you keep track of that? That's the problem, and I don't think Sundial addresses it without punching in. So that's my take on it. If you can figure out a fix to that, I'm sure the salaried people would love to stay away from punching in and out.
Yeah, but under salaried, aren't they just required to work 40 hours a week?
Yep. and-
So their time would accumulate whether they clock in or not.
But it's how
you track their sick leave
yeah,
and
it's how you would take care of the leave. That you wouldn't be able to keep track of that without doing something, whether it's paper or clocking in. So it's still nice to have the clocking in just to keep track of your vacation and sick leave time.
Do they have to be in the office? I mean, we have a lot of salaried people.
Yeah, currently they do.
But there is software that they can clock in from their,
Currently, it
iPads
doesn't
or
work that
iPhones?
way. They had talked about possibly in the future, adding it to the sheriff's vehicles and deputy vehicles and stuff to be able to do that, but not currently. It
So
doesn't
last
work
night
that
when we
way.
got back from Pier and I had 3 of the assessors with me, we got back at 6:30. They all had to come in and clock their hours, and I didn't as an elected official, but they all had to come in and do that and make sure it was logged correctly. And
but I know there is software that they can clock in from their,
Walls?
yeah.
Not,
Which is
that's
available.
available option, but our
Don't have
system
it yet.
doesn't work that way, and that was, when we started all this, that was one of the things that was requested not to have happen, because then people could clock in anytime, anywhere.
And I think one of the points Rachel had made before was, well, kind of like Dirk said, if a person's logging their hours and they can show that they're working well over 80 hours, they can do that on paper if they want to. I mean, it doesn't need to be Sundial that's tracking that. If a person really wants to come back and try to sue the county for being salaried for 15 years, number one, they shouldn't have agreed to be salaried. Number two, they can keep track of their own time and produce it to you. So I don't think that's the problem.
And that's what we've had. We've had a couple people trying to edit the system anyway, because they want to reflect their true hours.
One of the things that I had brought up back when my office changed the attorneys over to Sundial was we wanted to be able to track the hours so that we could all know, and a salaried person should want to, so that they can come to you and say, look at the hours I'm working. Maybe I need a raise. Or, but, just the opposite.
That doesn't work.
Maybe we want to do
Or
that.
just the opposite. Look at the hours you guys can keep track of. Look at the hours you're working.
Or maybe we need more employees.
Maybe we need more, yeah.
Well, the issue probably isn't so much for the 8 to 5, where your issue comes in is your 24/7 jail, JDC, emergency management, those type of things, because, they get called out at midnight, they have all the flex hours. It's not like they're 8 to 5, so the bigger problem lies with the 24 people that are on 24/7 clock time.
I agree.
And, I'm wondering, is there a way we can put something in our language that gives that 24/7 a little more flex than the 8 to 5? I don't see the 8 to 5 such of an issue, because I think generally as a rule, most everybody's on that schedule, but when you have that
But
other...
the reality is most exempt employees are working more than that regardless.
Well, and the question is, what's an 8 to 5 office? I can tell you my office is not.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we were, but we're not. But I think the
So what's the
easy fix,
solution?
and I'm going to propose this because I know the sheriff's office and emergency management's watching and wants me to. I think we go back to exactly the way we were doing it before it got changed. And I don't even know when it got changed technically. All I know is I had multiple attorneys coming in wondering what the heck happened, and I said I have no idea. It was in an HR report.
Well, it seemed to work the way we had it, to some degree.
Well, I don't think anybody complained about it. I think the only issue was, this is just what I heard because I wasn't here for it, was Rachel had thought it was a liability issue. And my response was, usually when there's a legal question or a liability issue, nobody's shy to come ask me to look into it. I never had got that question. I don't think it is because I think Gary checked with the proper people and said it's not as the head of HR.
I'm okay with changing it back to the way it was.
If it makes it clearer and an easier method. without causing us any legal problems, I could deal with it.
Well, if the Department of Labor doesn't have a problem with people logging their hours and they're salaried, and there shouldn't be ever any discussion whether they're paid overtime or if they're salaried. If that's the ruling the Department of Labor gave us, I guess that was our concern, why we changed it.
And our liability for extra hours if they're clocking them, whether it's, we're doing it
Salary.
this way or on paper, would be the same. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes. Based on that conversation, I'll make a motion that we change our policy back to the way it was previously written.
Second.
Have a motion by Sutton, second by Fishback to change our policy under C9 make the amendment, or to change it back to the previous. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next month, we'll probably do it back again.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Next item on the agenda, Dirk Rogers. The highway superintendent has some right-of-ways for Webb, Northwestern Energy, Northern Valley. Department update.
Hi.
Morning, Dirk.
First one of these is from Northwestern Energy. It's for a gas line going into the soybean plant.
I move it.
Second.
How big is the
Is that easy enough for you?
That's really, you don't have to get the
Yeah.
map
How big
out.
a gas line is it?
And that's the 4-inch steel pipe coated and wrapped. Outside diameter is 4.5 inches. It comes from the railroad right away and goes up 14 and into the
Seems to be a lot of
plant.
stuff out there. isn't
Oh,
there?
man.
Mhm.
Moved by Hanson, second by Sutton to approve the Northwestern Energy pipeline.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next one's for Webb Water. And, well, this is going into Jeff Goldaddy's down on the Hale Mile. It's, just a water service. I don't know if it's update one or what, but they're going under the road
Second.
into his place.
Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton to approve the Webb Water line hookup.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And the last one's from Northern Valley. It's putting a 24 count fiber in, excuse me, I guess I got two of these. The 24 count fiber for internet, and it's just connecting, it's at the intersection of the old highway 10 and 13E, the Fordham Mile up there right in the corner. They're just boring under the County 10 to get from the west side over to the east side where the service is at.
Move it.
Second.
Move them over the head department.
And there's a second one from James Valley, same thing, 24 count fiber for internet and whatnot. And it's just a little further west, boring under the Fordham Mile and down Country Drive a little bit out
Here's
there.
the one and the other one first, or are these both the same company?
It's the same company.
Okay.
I'll move both of them.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Hanson to approve the Northern Valley fiber. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, that's it. Just a quick update on what we got going on. We got done with 14 up there by the water plant. Came out pretty nice. I'm gonna have somebody come in and stripe it just because it's a pretty high volume road, not wait until October when the rest of our stuff gets striped. So it'll be a little more costly bringing them in just to do 3 miles, but it won't be a giant number.
It's kind of a strange turning lane we have turning into the
It's
Smart Center. I was on that a couple days ago.
It takes a little getting used to because the first couple weeks I came through there, it feels too tight. You know, you come across the tracks there. But this morning I went through it and there was a car in front of me that took the turning lane, and it actually, I mean, the first few times we went through there, it's a different feeling.
Yeah.
You got to get used to that, but it all meets, you know, the minimum distances and stuff for a 45 mile an hour road.
Yeah,
Goes way
yep.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different, but we gotta curve off to the right.
There's a possibility in the next couple of years after we get the next intersection done at 8th Avenue, you know, and we get that and we've kind of settled in a little bit with the bean plant up there, we might add that other lane all the way, because when we do the intersection at 8th Avenue, there's going to be another turning lane that'll merge back on the north end of that. So you'll merge back after you get past the Smart Center and you'll go half a mile or whatever, and then you'll probably swing out again. So I can see in the near future making that a 3-lane deal all the way up there, at least making it wider.
Be a lot of high traffic there for
Yeah.
the next 2 years.
Well, and I think that's our second or third busiest road right now.
Sure.
So, so we got that done up there. We got, like, Tom said, we got that project there at the railroad tracks done. Right now, we're basically patching and transitioning into our next batch of stuff. We'll be working up in the Frederick area in the next couple of weeks. We're starting to get hauling material out to Richmond to start doing the drives. We're going to blotter all the drives at Richmond. And then the West Bridge project will be starting shortly after the 4th. So we're not going to do anything that involves shooting any oil near Richmond Lake until after the 4th, because I want to have a nice 4th. And,
No phone calls?
yeah.
Might be clean oil off
Yeah.
the cars, yeah?
Got Matador on speed dial up there. So, we'll probably get a little more aggressive out there after the 4th and let everybody get out of the way, and that next week after that, we'll see more action out in that area. And then we still have our other projects, you know, July 10th, we're letting the intersections around town here that we're improving for the bean plant, and August 15th, they'll get started on the cold in place recycle down on the Warner Fernie Road, and so still got a lot of stuff going on.
How's the bridge project for,
Not real good. The Hall
Yeah.
Bridge. This isn't for certain, but the way that that's moving in going back and forth between the consultants and the DOT, I'm not feeling real fuzzy that it's gonna get let yet this summer. It looks to me like it's gonna get pushed back into the fall, and then it would be in construction for next year. That's gonna create another issue with the $900,000 I got sitting in the budget for this
Yeah.
year to match that. So I gotta figure out how
What
we're
would
gonna
be the
juggle
hang-up?
that run.
what's the hang-up with consultants?
I don't have the whole story, but you have this, this time, I call it ping pong. The consultant sends it into the DOT, and the DOT reviews it and sends it back to the consultant and tells them, make these changes, and then the consultant makes the changes and sends it back to the DOT, and the DOT reviews it and sends it back to the consultant and says, make these changes, and then they send it back to the DOT. This goes on for a while until everybody's happy. Solely my opinion, sometimes that process is the DOT's is the hindrance, and sometimes the consultant's the hindrance, and you just end up with this situation. There's nothing about this that's a crazy anomaly. This process right now has taken a little more time than it generally does, but it's not quite to the point of, oh my God. Now, I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago when we bid the Hecla Bridge. We bid that in the middle of the summer the first time, and the number was just icky. We waited a few months, pushed it off towards fall when people were planning their next year's work, and it was 800, 900,000 less. So there's not going to be a financial disadvantage, and we're just, you know, I guess we're going to wait for the 25th year possibly instead of the 24th year, since the bridge should have been replaced. Nothing's going to stop it. Nothing's prohibitive. It's a slow process. And since we're talking about it, and Dwayne and I had mentioned this, and I've squawked to the DOT, and I'm a little culpable, and I'm going to drag Dwayne with me because he was on the same committee when we helped review the conditions for the big grant program and Senate Bill 1 and stuff. There's no provision in there for any additional FTEs for the DOT, and if I had that to do over again, I think that's something I would have at least brought up, because we created a program and we made everybody pay more for the license plate so we'd have more money, and so common sense would say, hey, we're going to do some more projects. Well, in order to do more projects, you need more contractors, and you need to make sure that the government agencies and the consultants have the capability to take on the more work and facilitate it getting completed. So that is one thing in this process, when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, never once, unless you can think of a time, do I ever remember anybody talking about using some of that money to create a couple FTEs that could help for, you know, potentially more projects coming in. I don't know if that's part of why this one's slower. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting to me that we went through this process to accelerate bridge projects, and then didn't accommodate, or, didn't accompany it with any additional manpower to do that.
So in your budget for this year, if that budget was set for that bridge and that doesn't happen, where does the bridge grant say you gotta put that $900,000 at?
That particular chunk of the money's in my budget, or in my budget, but in the highway department budget, so we can spend that part on whatever, it just would go, because it's just in the construction equipment
Okay.
line or whatever.
My suggestion would be, if you're not going to do it this year, don't spend it, and then we'll just re-budget for 19, and the money will still be sitting there for you to spend.
As long as the budget's, 10.8 and not whatever I submitted. We're not I can't do or 8.8 this year and then whatever I requested, 9.7 next year, and just have that $1 million evaporate either. That's not gonna work. The other thing I can do is do paving, anything in yellow on there, on the map to the left, is what's slated for next year. The one from Stratford to Fernie is gonna be a different process, but Prairie Wood, that area around Joby and Road 11 are things we could pave this year with that money.
The initial numbers I've crunched, you might not be doing those paving next year even.
So you're just telling me that we're gonna
Spend the money now.
lose this $1
No,
million?
don't spend the money now,
Well, you're gonna...
or you won't get
give
the
it
bridge
over,
next year.
Well,
then you won't
then
have
that's a
paving
decision
next year.
somebody has to make,
Yeah,
I
and
submit
they
the
haven't
budget
really
and
started the
somebody
budget
needs
process,
to tell me
but I
if
just
it's gonna
wanna,
get cut, and I need to know that at the beginning, not in December.
right.
Mhm.
So-
You need to know what's in this little while here.
Right.
We'll start budget crunching next Tuesday.
Which, that, if you're doing next year's, but what I'm saying is I can use that, spend this year's budget, and if my budget gets cut next year, it doesn't matter, we're still gonna do that bridge. If that bridge is ready this year, we'll do it, and if that bridge is next year, we'll do it. That's not something that's gonna get done.
Right.
So, I'll pull something else out of there. I'll pull out the Stratford Fernie project next year if we don't have enough money to fund the highway department,
But you can't spend the 900 on
It's
those
already in the budget. Is it not in the budget for this year? Is that money not in the budget for this year? It is.
It is, but what
Then
I'm
they need to tell
saying,
me if I need to redirect it, or if I can't spend the budget, then you guys need to tell me that now. I can't find out in December again.
right, if the bridge is postponed until 2019, I would highly suggest not spending that money in 18 on potential 19 projects, because then you might be caught short for the bridge if it goes in 19.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
And what I'm saying is I need to know how much money I have, and if it's gonna change, I need to know that.
yeah, they're gonna start next week, and however often they meet.
That's fine, but, then if I'm not supposed to spend the 18 money, somebody needs to tell me, otherwise I'm gonna spend it.
Only if you're not doing the project, that big project that you had budgeted for 18.
What number is highway, 40, what, 3?
The what now?
That
That's
highway,
not exactly earmarked for that bridge, it's just...
The highway
it's
number.
part of
It's
the budget.
in there, it's in there,
In the book.
when I make the budget, I write
I
down
don't
all the
have
stuff that we're
I don't
gonna
have
do
a cheat sheet
construction.
either.
You're saying-
It's towards the end. Look at the
I know
top.
what you're
What's
saying,
that
right.
one?
Yeah.
That is...
I mean, I'll be the
planned
first to
zone.
tell you, I don't hit the line items.
I thought
Some
it
years
was
I'm not even
47,
close.
but
Yeah.
it's not.
I
Here
had
it is,
that
40,
problem myself.
50.
You just look at the overall budget and then...
Yeah.
what you
So
work
you
off
were
that.
down a little bit from, you were a couple $100,000 less was what you were expecting from budget last year.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
What number's in?
It's 50.
From what I submitted last year to what I submitted for...
This year.
Yeah, it's
For 19.
100, or
So-
1.8, or 180,000 difference or something. Or is
So-
it 200?
And you have projects in here.
About 180, yeah.
Yep.
But if we take that million over, and we lower your budget because we have to, or
Right.
whatever, there's still gonna be some projects you're not gonna use.
Well, that happens every year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So one way or the other, you're gonna have money, a project you're not gonna do if you have to put the bridge into next year. So if you use the money this year to do next year's project,
right.
then you'd have that money from next year's project to use on the bridge.
Yeah,
Is that the way I'm understanding it correctly?
in my feeble mind, all I'm doing is make this road, or pick anything out, make this one red, and make the frickin' bridge yellow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Just swapping.
Yeah, you're just swapping.
But Max, I understand what you're saying, and yes, but I adjust. If the budget gets cut, or I don't get what my request is, then I will adjust it. If this bridge doesn't go, and I've already been, it doesn't make any sense from my perspective to say, okay, I'll give that $1 million back, and then you're already telling me you're gonna cut next year's budget. Well, that I'm not wired that way. If you're gonna tell me that I'm not supposed to spend the last $1 million on top of the 70,000 or whatever else it is I'm not supposed to spend so we can pay for security, but you gotta tell me that now.
But the actual grant money that comes in from the bridge grant, we can't do anything with that.
Yeah, but that's not even
just
part of
your
it.
portion is what you're
Right,
talking
is
about.
what I'm talking about, is the bridge match. And had that not been awarded, I can't hardly believe I would only ask for 8.9 million this year. If that hadn't been awarded, I would have used the 900,000 for something else anyway.
And I think the confusion is grant money versus your match money.
Right.
And I think there's a difference there. I think the grant money we know is,
You
it's
can't
$1
do it.
million, it's gotta go to that bridge. Whether you spend the 900,000 this year or you do it next year, you're still using the same dollars that you had budgeted for that bridge. It's just a
Right.
matter of,
That grant money is in the same pot.
Yeah.
but you're not using any of it.
So yes, you are. Because it's not restricted.
The grant money's restricted. The 900,000, that we won't even see that money. The state will pay that. And
Oh,
we'll-
they haven't given it to us yet.
No, we don't ever get
Okay.
it. We don't ever see it.
And that's,
Okay.
I think that's where the confusion is, and that's what I think we need to
Okay.
clarify that.
Yep. That's the money that we get out of the big grant.
Mhm.
The-
Okay, sorry.
The $9 million, that goes,
Right.
we don't ever see it. We don't ever see it.
Just fair warning though, it's
I'm with you.
preliminary figures.
I know that.
Been there, done that?
Yes. The mid-2000s were far worse. It's easy for me to say, but we had some years in there that were just treacherous. And everything was negative from the previous year. And I'm sorry, but I'm never gonna come in here and go, okay, this year we only need 60% of what I needed last year. That's not gonna happen, okay? If we don't have the money for it, tell me, but I'm not gonna come in and say I only need 60% of the previous year, because that makes me look stupid on about 3 levels, and I don't usually need help with that.
But we do thank you for helping with getting this court security.
Yes,
Just want to make that up.
so. Who came into, Scott Hanlon stopped by because he was gonna go pay a speeding ticket.
Oh geez, I can imagine.
Didn't have
not
enough
having-
stuff with him to get in the courthouse, so. Or he didn't want to deal with it or something, so he decided to mail it in. But, okay. Are we good now?
We're good. I think we'll find when we do
We
your
leave it
budget. I
trimmed?
think.
I'm not gonna come back for the budget discussion, so you just let me know where it lands. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you, Dirk.
Next item on the agenda, Judy Dosh, Building Superintendent,
Department update.
discuss the billing for the Digi for security and intercom system for judges. Morning, Judy.
Morning, Judy.
Maybe Dirk should have stuck around for this one.
Dirk.
That's all our money, we had to take it out of Dirk's budget.
For all the fobbing that we had did up in the court area, we finally have gotten the bill. The bill was at $39,464.62. Paul had some materials, and with the help of the boys, it came down to $33,941.44. So I just wanted to tell you guys that this is what the cost is, and then it'll be coming out of my budget.
We don't,
Planned.
that can't come out of the budget for the court stuff.
We've been down that road
Oh, yeah.
many times.
And we're required by law to do this, correct? Nope?
I guess I don't know exactly what Judy's got there, but
This is already done.
this is just the fob.
This is all the fobbing.
Oh, okay.
for all
This you
upstairs.
decided a long time ago.
That's what you decided, I'm just coming and telling you what the,
So where do we take it out of your budget?
yeah, there's some projects I didn't do to try to cover some for a lot of the projects.
And I thank you. I think, because we're gonna hurt someplace else.
The other thing I'm coming in with is the intercoms don't work for the judges from the front doors, so that if somebody's standing out there, that they can let them in. It went down, I'm not gonna say how it went down. I found out this morning that actually one of the court reporters is still working, which just doesn't even make any sense. But that part is working, but still to have somebody come in and check it all out, we're gonna be spending money.
Is that county responsibility?
I put it back in '04 with a grant. I was hoping that there would be a grant this year, but the state didn't do any grants for court security. So that's how I did the last one. And it's old. Can't get parts for it anymore. Paul had gotten a quote to have Digi come in so it can hook up into our system and everything, and that comes to, it's $12,356.22.
So be 50, almost 55.
So, it's either, do we do this now? I know money is tight. But I mean, to try to bring somebody in to fix it, we could be spending $3,000 to $4,000. Or I had checked out some other things. I said, if it was something that we could have the court administrator, the people go in and talk with her, and then she could call the judges and say, hey, somebody needs a paper sign. So meet them at the door. Well, they've been trying that, and that hasn't been working. My only other thing is, and if we wanted to wait to see if next year there's a grant, is a wireless doorbell. It would just ring, and then the judges would have to come to the door. At least they would know that somebody's out there wanting a paper signed or wanting to visit with them.
I guess my question is, if we're not mandated to do it, and it's the state court system, why are we having to pay for it? Chris, can you answer that for us, or what, what's our liability? Where do we stop with this thing?
Well, if I'm going to give you legal advice, I'd prefer to go into executive session, but no, I don't, just straight answer is no, I don't think you are required to pay for this. I can guess why they're asking you to do it. State tell them not, if they don't have the money for it, or they don't. It's harder to dig into the state budget, I think, than the county budget. At least that's what we found out through all this courthouse security stuff. So my guess is the state won't do it. I don't know. The state should, in my opinion. Otherwise, the judge is going to have to, when he hears a doorbell, he's going to have to go look out the window to see who it is, if he's going to let him in or not, or his court reporter, or the intern that they have, or
the law clerk.
The law clerk that sits up there. He gave the security downstairs so they can be assured that there's nobody that's there to harm them with a weapon. It's too bad the old system doesn't work, because it worked pretty good. They could ask who it was on the intercom.
But they can see the person that's out there, but what
Didn't
do
we
you
just
want?
put in some doors up there? Did they have windows in them or
I think the
something?
thing is, you'd have to see how it's set up. So if you go into Judge Portress, and you need to get into his office, he would have to come right to the glass door. You'd be a foot away from him, for him to see who it is. If you go to Judge Myron's, I suppose he would be from me to Max away from the door. He'd have to look. What are you going to do, look at him and then ignore him? I think that's their problem. And then Judge Summers, you can't even get back to his courtroom anymore, because when Judge Von Wald was here, he used to be able to get right to the glass door, and he could look down the hall to see who it was, or his court reporter could. Now they have that outside door secured because they didn't have the security. I'm not sure that's necessarily needed anymore, but that's up to them, I guess, and Judy. So he can never see who's even outside of his door.
And I can say that we need this outside door, lobby door with the fob, because we now have a law clerk in that area, and we have another court reporter in that area, and that's
That's all behind secured
And to be
doors.
honest, does a court reporter and a law clerk need to be behind a secured door when we have 3 full-time security guards at the front door that are checking everybody? I don't know. I can tell you that they never were until a couple years ago, ever, and that was before we had security at the door.
So I guess my question would be is, would you check to see if we're actually liable to furnish that service? I mean,
My answer to that is no, we're not
Okay.
legally. Can the judges sue us because we're not giving them that? I don't think they're ever going to do that, because I think they know they can't. They have a state IT person.
so I would suggest that they have their state IT person probably look at the old intercom system and see if they can fix it.
Or apply for a grant to themselves.
The frustrating part for me is that we've used that state grant to put in all these security doors upstairs, and all of a sudden now we have 3 full-time security guards downstairs. We never needed that security stuff. I don't know what the number was. I know it was pretty high. That could have been used for all of this.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the process. I think Susan was down here pushing for it, and that got passed, and then they came back with pushing the security on the first floor. I wish the timing would have been better and somebody would have planned it out better, because the state could have used quite a bit of money for intercom systems or a lot of other things that I presume they want.
If we're not statutorily required to do it, I would say we don't do it. Just let the state, tell the state they need to handle it.
I agree.
And I'm not entirely sure, I don't know how the UJF budget works, but I'd have to see their budget to see what they have in it. But if they have a $100,000 budget and this is $12,000, can they use some of that county money? I'm guessing they could. Max, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they have a budget every year and I come to you to, like I did a couple weeks ago, to address my budget and get peppered with questions, why are they not down here why is Susan not down here with the UJS budget, getting a question about her different expenditures each year? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it's ever happened that way, and I think that's why.
Right.
I don't think we need to take any action. I think we just instruct Judy to tell the court system they can deal with it.
And to be completely honest, the other frustrating thing for me is I don't think this is Judy's job to come ask you for these things. I just don't. I know Judy gets a lot of heat from court administration over these type of things, but I just, personally, I don't think it's Judy's job to come down here and ask for it.
She's become the go-between, so they don't have to.
Their budget is $73,200.
Well, I believe the reason that Judy's involved is they feel it's the county's obligation to furnish this for them, and naturally maintenance would be in charge of that. And I guess that's where the clarification needs to be in. What does the state system dictate the county has to provide for them?
And
Somebody needs to get that.
I gave that
Clearly
little advice
made.
to Judy a month ago, and yeah, we sat down and had a meeting about this.
So I think that's where it falls back is what are we mandated to provide versus what they think we should provide, and I guess that needs to be clarified, and if that isn't part of it, I don't see how we should spend $15,000, let alone $33,000 for Digi and Fobbin, but,
That was back in there.
yeah. I understand the Digi thing is a little tough to deal with at this point, but now the intercom system, I think,
My point of all that, Doug, was if court administration goes to Judy and says, hey, this is what we want, if I'm Judy, my response is, go ask for it. Because I don't think it's Judy's job to get on the schedule and come here and ask for what somebody else wants. She doesn't have time for that. She's got plenty of other things to do as the building superintendent.
The other departments do their own requests. Sometimes you come along with to explain it, but,
Yep.
and add something to it.
so is that a standard answer you want to use?
Forget it. No standard. Read it off.
Make an appointment with the commissioners.
Well, go ask Mom yourself.
Okay, I guess I would instruct you to go back and have them meet with the commission if they,
Okay.
is that fair to everybody?
Yep.
See how well that works out for us.
Well,
Will do. You gotta
Thanks,
remember
Judy.
Judy's answer.
good luck, Katie.
Thanks, Judy.
Actually, want to go through the things, or should I address other issues?
That's up to you.
I guess what we'll do now is we have no other items on the agenda, but I would open it up. Does anybody else have anything to come before the commission? I see Jack and Janet are here. I don't know if you have something for us, or...
I think we're on agenda for a plat approval.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll let you go through your section next.
Okay. The plats, there's a Hagen, a Bowler, Assumption, Hedges, River Horse, and Bogenhagen.
I'll move them.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Hans, to approve the plats. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, now I'll jump back up to minutes, June 19th, general.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Sutton, to approve the general minutes for June 19th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims and payroll.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton, to approve claims and payroll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Fishback, to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There are 3 rezones coming up. There's a rat, a hefty, and wolf. It's ordinance 120, 121, and 122 need authorization to advertise. I think the hearing is
17th.
17th.
I'll move them.
Second.
Can you do them together?
All three of them?
Or-
Yeah,
okay,
you can,
yep.
for the authorization, you
Yep,
can.
yep.
Can I
I'll move
just give
them.
it back to you?
Yeah.
Moved by Sutton, second by Hanson, to authorize advertising for the rat, hefty, and wolf rezones. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorize the chair to sign addendum number 1 for the Brown County 14 North project.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Sutton, to authorize the chair to sign addendum for the Brown County 14 project. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And authorize chair to sign pay request number 1 for the same project, and this is the final pay request.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Hanson, to authorize chair to sign the final pay request for Brown County 14 project. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, leases, there's 4-H Horse Club, 4-H Triple Threat, 4-H Rodeo, Spink County 4-H, Bath Baseball, and 2 leases for CEF. That must be,
That's a Christian evangelism.
Church.
it's a, yeah.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton, to approve the leases. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fair contracts.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Fishback, to approve the fair contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I had a call from a realtor. They had done a title search on a piece of property, and an old Yankton lien had surfaced, and we did not have it in our lien system, but the Register of Deeds had a paper filing for this. And in reviewing the paper file, there were some, okay, the Register of Deeds used to track, many years ago, this is back in the 60s, when someone was admitted and when they were dismissed. And this individual was admitted voluntarily in 65 and was discharged in a month later. And then in, 5 years later, it was determined that this individual was a Falk County resident. And then, for some reason, there was a bill from June 12, 1967 that was entered, and that's what Clark Title picked up as this amount. And in my opinion, just because it was filed in 71, that was after it was determined that the person was a Falk County resident in 70. So the resolution just states, whereas the Brown County Register of Deeds records show a Yankton lien against an individual in the amount of $125.76 dated June 12, 67, but not filed until November 17, 71. Whereas documentation dated May 1, 1970 indicates that the individual was a legal resident of Falk County and the lien was transferred accordingly. Now therefore be it resolved that the Yankton lien in amount of $125.76 filed November 17, 71 was a clerical error and a reversing entry shall be filed, bringing the balance to zero.
I know that individual was the same, 'cause I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
We need a motion on that.
I need a
I
motion
move
on
it.
that.
Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Fishback to,
It's gonna be a lot of work for 100.
Resolution, 3118.
Resolution 3118. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Cost us $50 for the print and all the work.
I received a letter yesterday. Upper Missouri Valley Commissioners Association is having their meeting on July 19th.
Same day as ours, isn't it?
It's same day as ours. Does that cause problems with SDCC and SDACO? Should we think of changing ours to the 18th, or
We had already said ours though, hadn't we?
we haven't sent anything out?
Oh.
anything out yet,
Okay.
It would just be, you checked with the
I don't have an
claim.
issue.
You want to change it to what, the 26th?
18th.
I'm sorry, I thought you said the...
Gary, you're in
Wednesday.
April the 26th, correct?
No, it's before
Oh.
that.
So
I've
the
got the
18th?
12th through the 16th of July.
So the Wednesday, the 18th then. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
July 26th?
No, the
18th.
18th.
18th, either one.
Yeah, 18th works.
And that's at what time, Max?
Noon?
I can probably do that. I couldn't do the 19th, I can do the 18th.
Do we choose location yet?
Yeah.
The flame was set for the 19th.
Okay, good.
So I'll have to call them and
Should remember where we
change
set
it to the
that.
18th.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
Where's the other?
I will get you
Harriet.
How do you find Harriet?
the way.
You want to follow me out?
Google Maps.
Okay, I will give each of you this letter so you can put it in your agenda or your calendar if you want to go to Harriet on the 19th. That's an evening meeting.
Who would want to go here?
Doug can represent us.
I can just pass through as I'm going back and forth.
Right, yeah.
I was just through there Friday.
Okay, so I'll get those letters to you. Okay, that is all I have.
Gary, have anything for us?
Just one thing, the contractor at the BMX track yesterday asked if the county would consider them tying to our sewer inlet in the parking lot on the east side of the Millam building, instead of just running water onto our parking lot. It seemed like it'd be a little cleaner and nicer if they would just tie into our inlet. So we'll put it on the agenda for next week for action, but that was the request, was that we allow them to tie into the sewer inlet versus just letting the water run over the top.
It makes more sense, probably a little cleaner, a little sanitary.
So
Yeah.
we'll get that on the agenda for next week, so that's all I had.
Topic for our 18th meeting was, you asked.
Yeah, I asked if you wanted to talk about building security, school security, those kind of things, if that'd be a good good topic. We'll line somebody up for that and change it to the 18th then.
Sounds good.
Works for me.
Okay, sounds good.
Tell the rest of the counties what not to do.
Yeah.
Chris, you have anything for us?
Just got some decisions yet to make on ag land assessment, but I don't know with Rachel not here, if you wanna wait till next week or how you wanna go about it.
Is there any rush before?
Sooner the better,
I
right?
think we need to find out, really, God, no?
Sooner the better.
Well, then we could,
I would call for an exec.
I'll move that.
can we have a minute or two break first?
Moved by Sutton, second by Fishback. Do you want exec, all in favor?
Aye. For the 1 minute.
We are in
Give me a
exec,
break.
2-minute break.
I don't know, does it work?
Word gets around, who the best ones are, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And some people don't get the word, you see, what the hell they hire you for?
We are out of exec, no action as a result.
Was Rachel by a conference?
No.
Okay.
Anything to come before the Brown County Commission?
Move adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
You're either